Love that we're starting off like that. If you haven't gotten yourself an ice weather drink from Dutch Bros, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, that's just disrespectful. This is actually the first time I went to Dutch Bros. It was pretty damn good. Anyways, hey! Welcome back to the channel. Been a minute, which is like my recurring catchphrase. We're gonna ignore that. Look at this shirt. Look at her. She's beautiful. I'm wearing her for a reason. I decided that I love reading so much. If you want to follow me on Goodreads, I'll link my Goodreads down below. I love reading so much. I love saphicism so much. I love romance so much that so much of my life is devoted to reading sapphic romantic books. And so I am very excited to be sitting down and doing this video. Basically, I'm just going over my top 5-star sapphic romances so far. So any books that I've read that I've given 5 stars in the sapphic romance genre. If that's not really your niche category, that's completely fine. Maybe stay for the video, see if maybe you'd be interested in any of these books. A lot of them have like historical backgrounds, have unique storylines as well. So even if you're not really into the romance, it could be a book that you could be possibly interested in. You don't know. And if you're just like, fuck the homosexuals, fuck reading, maybe this isn't the video for you. Maybe this is not the space or category that you need to be in. Okay? Regarding my previous video, I did say that I was going to be recording a reaction to the RWBY Volume 9 soundtrack. 90% of my audience probably watches me just for RWBY. So they're like, well, where the fuck is that? Like, dumb bitch, I'm gonna unsubscribe right now if you don't give me RWBY content. I understand. I get it, okay? My camera died. I lost all my videos. I literally cried to my friend Nikki about it. It was devastating. It was a hard time. And so because of that devastating hard time, I will not be refilming that. I don't believe in re-recording reactions. The only exception I did was for the last chapter of RWBY Volume 9, and that was kind of a special case. But for music, I'm not gonna do that. Anyways, I wanna keep this short and sweet just because my camera, she's a phone. If you don't know what my camera is, I've been using my phone for several years. Trying to save up for a camera right now, so I'm excited for that. But yeah, we're gonna be nice and gentle with her. Let's go ahead, let's dive right into it because I'm getting scared. I'm literally watching like the time go by on my phone right now and I'm getting anxiety, so yeah. Hi babes, we have a Patreon that just got a little update. There's a link in the description so you can go check it out yourself or maybe even change that membership you already have. And with each week's video, you could get a shout out just by being pledged, just like this person. Alrighty, let's get back to the video. Okay, first thing I wanted to talk about was what is my ultimate goal for the year? Because a lot of people have reading goals or reading expectations and they're like, I want to read a horror this year. I want to do this. I'm not a starting off reader. I've read since I came out of my mother's womb. They gave me my birth certificate and I said, hold on, looks right. I've been a reader since forever, but I really got back onto the reading train I think last year, and just being around Alexis and stuff, like we love reading. It's one of our favorite things to do. I wanted to create a reading goal for myself this year. So my reading goal wasn't anything like too specific or anything. I just wanted to read 20 books. Within the time that 2023 wraps up, I want to have read 20 books. I don't care what genre, I don't care how many pages, I don't care. Just 20 books. Right now, I'm at 12 of those 20 books I have read. So I'm at 60%, I think. And I'm currently reading my 13th book, which sounds very... As I'm saying that, I'm realizing how ironic that is because it's my 13th book. This book deals with suicide. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. I'm not going to say it. I don't want to be held accountable for that. That is so fucked up, Leanne. Oh my god. Anyways, I have currently read 12 out of 20 books, and I'm excited to read the final 8. I'll probably read more than that. I'm hoping to read more than that, because then next year I can up my goal, so I'm very excited. So right now the book I'm reading, it's called If Tomorrow Doesn't Come. It's by Jen St. Jude. So far, loving it. It's really great. Just, you know, being in love with your best friend as a young girl, it just, yeah, it's a little too hard, but it's going really well. And so we'll see where that ranks further on in life. But right now, further on in life, we'll see where that ranks later on. Anyways, right now we're gonna go through my 5-star sapphic romances. I'm gonna give you kind of just a little bit of rundown, my opinions, the gist of it, just because if it's something that you might be interested in, I kind of just want to give you a blurb. There might be some spoilers. I'm like trying to decipher it. I don't think I really went into anything too specific, but I will put any content warnings, any trigger warnings up in the corner just in case you need it, because some of these books you need it. And this list of books that I made, it's not in order of like favorite to least favorite or this to that. Like I just kind of did this randomly. So pick and choose, see if you maybe want to pick up one. Let me know if you pick up one. That would make my fucking day. That's like my own little book club, and I would love that. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so my first book that we're going to be talking about is She Gets the Girl. This is by 2 authors, actually. Their names are Rachel Lippincott and Allison Derrick, and they're an actual couple in real life. And this story is semi-based off of their experience and them meeting, so that instantly just kind of put it at an upper level for me, because I was like, ooh, a little biopic. The cover is absolutely gorgeous. If you can't tell, they go roller skating in the book, and it's beautiful. I think this would be a wonderful adaptation. I don't really love too many book to movie adaptations, but I think this would do so well. It's got all those classic rom-com vibes to it. It's a young adult book. Doesn't get into anything too sexual or anything like that if you're worried. It takes place with 2 girls in college, but it's just a very like, you know, there's discussions of sex, there's like that kind of theme, but there isn't anything that's like too far if that's not what you're into. I wrote, I'll help you get the girl, but I'm in love with you. So synopsis of it is this one girl is helping this other girl kind of win over this other girl. I do such a great job of describing this stuff, but it's kind of like, if you've seen the half of it on Netflix, it's like that, but all of them are girls. It's super sapphic, and then the other girl ends up falling in love for the girl that she's helping, and I adore it. That's not a spoiler because that's like the main idea of the book. I absolutely was in love with it, and I love characters who are so focused on other goals or other things in their life, right? And then someone comes along and they're like, God damn it, you know, I just relate heavily to that, so I love it. Something I also liked about this book was it talked about struggles with culture and struggles with race, being born as something and not really feeling connected to it. I think there's a lot of people out there, not me specifically, but other people out there that could relate to this, where you're born into a culture, you're born into a race, you know, or ethnicity, and for some reason people think that has to define you. Or some kids really want to be connected to it and their parents do not because of immigration and all this other stuff, right? And it was so interesting because it was never something that I really truly thought about, and just a discussion of it was absolutely perfect. So I highly recommend it just for that. If you guys like slow burns, this is a slow burn book. Like this takes a while. Lesbians, we have 2 modes, okay? It's like Crocs, right? We have sports mode, and then we have easy cozy mode, and this was easy cozy mode. Like they were just taking their time with getting to know each other and liking each other, and it was so fun to read. Another thing that I really liked was talking about how a child can become a parent and how that can affect you in your relationships moving on. I think we never talk about that, about how parental dynamics with their kids affect your relationships going forward. They mess with them a lot. It's so interesting. And so if that's something that maybe you need a little healing with or more understanding about, definitely highly recommend this book for that. The next book that I have is Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. When I tell you that this story changed my perspective on so many things, it did. I'm not lying. I'm not going to sit here and lie to y'all. This is one of the best books that I've ever read. Plot-wise, character-wise, it is just A+, like across the board. It is one of my favorite books ever. I wish this is something that would be assigned in schools, because I genuinely think this should be a book that should be assigned in schools, because the amount of history in it is just insane. Like, I was not expecting what I got when I read this. It's just absolutely beautiful. I would categorize this as young adult. There is some adult themes, definitely, but because they are teenagers, it doesn't get into anything too much, but definitely young adult. I wouldn't say teen. it's a nice little middle. So basically, this is just talking about life in the early 1900s as an Asian American woman living in San Francisco. There was a lot of laws going around if you lived in California during that time, and just everything with the wars going on. It was crazy. It was insane time to be living there and be that race or come from that kind of background. And on top of that, our main character is gay. So you can imagine how fun life must have been for her. I love that it's not just a romance book. It definitely is, like, has the romance in it, but it's very historical and it's very just real. And I like that the author took her time and studied, you know, all these moments in history and really tried to make it as accurate as possible. Because I would have known any of this stuff. Like, look at me. Do you think I would have known this? No, I wouldn't have known this stuff. So to be educated in this kind of way and really understand the struggles or try to understand the struggles of what people went through it was just fantastic. Not the struggles, but the book. It was great. I also love that there's a proper explanation of butches and masks and femmes, and it doesn't really get into stud territory because it was not a part of San Francisco culture. Were there studs during that time? Absolutely. But it just wasn't a part of San Francisco culture. So I appreciated that they really, like, the author really was like, yeah, like, we had these butches and femmes and masks, but most of them were white, you know, because it's like back in those times, that's what was more accepted. Gay people were hated. No one liked them. But if you're a white gay compared to someone who is a person of color, you can tell which one was going to get just more of that slide by, I guess. I'm really trying to put this in the best words that I can because I don't want to mess up anything, but I hope you get what I'm trying to say. Anyways, I love the dissection that she went into of explaining that, you know, when you say a lesbian, that's just one whole group, right? You're not getting into the butches, you're not getting into the femmes, you're not getting into, like, the specific categories and the specific struggles that each different kind of lesbian or sapphic woman endures, right? And so I really like that there was that exploration and it wasn't just like two girls in the 1930s falling in love. Like, I don't want that kind of story. I want something that's real. I want something that's going to depict all these subcategories that I maybe had no idea about. The ending too, most of these books I read is just happy ending, wrap up in a little bow, all good to go. Of course, because this is a historical fiction book, it wasn't the happiest of endings. I'm not saying, oh, it was awful and I was crying my heart out and all that stuff. It was very emotional, but it was something that I think I just keep stating it for this book. It just felt real. It just felt like, yeah, that's what would happen. If you're looking for an ending that's not perfect, this is a good book for you. With this book, I couldn't put it down. Like, I was working someplace at this time and I bought it on my phone and I would just read it in between the people I was helping because I loved it. It was so beautifully written because a lot of the sapphic romance books that I read, and not to diss them at all, but they're very, I would say, easy in their reading language, and this was more complex. And so having that complexity with a book like this was just, it was perfection, and this is one of my favorite books to this day. The next one that I have, when I saw the cover for this book, I wasn't too sure if I was gonna like it or not because it looks very, the romances that your mom will come home with and drink a glass of wine with, you know? And just, those are not the kind of romances that I'm into. So I was a little concerned, but it is by this author, Alexandria Bellflower, who is one of my favorite authors of all time. I'll actually be talking about another book of hers later on, but the synopsis and everything, I was like, okay, I gotta give it a try. Also, look at that. That's just the coolest thing to me. Yeah, so she signed it and it's forever treasured and on my shelf. This book is definitely adult. This is an adult romance. Definitely wouldn't give this to a teenager and be like, go have fun. It's not like older in topics, I would say, just older in those kind of scenes. Alexandria Bellflower, though, writes those kind of scenes so well and so intimately, and they're just amazing. It's just a classic rom-com of hers. A lot of authors will try their hand at rom-com or romantic books and it will just fall flat. It just will not work. She is one of those authors who does not have that. Like, it's just like she's perfection when it comes to rom-com. She's completely mastered that pattern and everything that comes with it. Just beautiful writing. So this book is basically about a fake marriage, which love those, and it has to deal with like money and family. I don't know why, but one of the characters, I was casting the guy who plays Haymitch in Hunger Games. I kept thinking of him as one of the characters. Don't know if that entices you at all. I don't know. It did to me. And then this main character, my blonde one, Renee Rapp, was just constantly in my mind. So I don't know what was going on when I was reading this. Normally I don't really cast people in my head, but I did for this book, and I was just like, well, you know what? Film needs to be made. The writing was absolutely excellent in this book. It's such a just like good sit down and read through kind of book, and like, oh, I need a little pick me up. This is a perfect kind of book for that. Both of these girls were destined to two lives that they didn't genuinely choose. I'm trying to explain this in the best way I can. They get to figure out what that choice means to them, and it's just I really enjoyed it. And then also a classic of Belle Flowers is that she loves to write the characters falling fast. So if you're not a huge fan of the slow burn, which I'm like in between, I like the mid burn. You know, I don't like it too fast, but I don't like it too slow. But she definitely writes them like falling fast for each other, and it's adorable and it's cute. And again, it's just like a little warm hug. If you're having a bad day, this is definitely like just a nice book to read. Okay, the next book I want to talk about is Imogen, obviously, by Becky Albertalli. I don't have the book right now because Alexis is currently reading it. If you could tell, my mood dropped a little bit. It's because my camera died and glitched out, so I'm a little irritated. This is such a good book. And the cover, I have to show it. Absolutely beautiful. It's just bathed in like pink and purple tones, and just my absolute favorite. And then looking at the cover, Alexis and I actually noticed it, and we were like, those two look like us, so maybe we should read it and buy it. And then we did. I absolutely adored this book. It is just one of my favorites. It's another one of those like feel good kind of books. I would categorize this as young adult. Doesn't really get into too many adult themes or anything like that, but I don't know, it could be a teen book. I just like to say it's more a young adult book because it takes place with people who are in college and then people who are going into college as well. So I feel like that's more young adult territory. College stories for the win. College stories for the win, period. Because I'm in college, if you didn't know. So anything about what I'm experiencing, what I'm going through, soak it up. Also, we don't have that many college love stories. We have a lot of high school ones. We have a lot of ones when you're an adult. I want more college stories because I think those are genius. You put a bunch of kids in one place and then expect them to figure their lives out without their parents. Like that, it's just perfect material. It writes itself. This book is heavy on figuring out your identity and your sexuality and who you are and who you want to be, and maybe thinking you're one thing, but maybe you're not. Maybe you're just putting yourself in a box. Becky Albertalli just excels at these kind of books. If you don't recognize her, she has written Simon versus the Homo sapiens and Lay Off the Bee, which led to the movie Love, Simon, and the TV show Love, Victor. So, you know, like, she's kind of just been a catalyst for so many of these things in our pop culture right now. And this is just an excellent sapphic book. I absolutely adored it. I loved every single character except for her ex-best friend. Not her current best friend. Her current best friend is a slay. Her ex-best friend is disgusting. I don't like her. I don't want to talk about her. She gave me the ick so many times with the way that she would address the main character. It was so frustrating. It was just infuriating. I was just like, how can a person behave like this and act like this? So if you read the book, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Yeah, no, seriously, I wanted to Maddie up on her. If you watch Euphoria, you'll understand that. Just like, shut the fuck up. She was so annoying. Don't put people in a box. Like, let people explore themselves. I definitely have been a person who has done this to other people and been like, oh, this person's straight, so, you know, whatever. and you never know for sure, and a lot of people aren't comfortable with giving themselves a label, or they don't even really know. So you have to let people figure that out on their own terms, and to really put them in a label is just, or a box, just inconsiderate. And also, like, if you think about your own sexuality experience, like, you know, that shit was always changing. For some people, they knew it since birth, where am I from, the Jersey Shore. For some people, they knew it since they were born. For me, that was not the case. I went through a journey with my sexuality. The way that Becky kind of writes like these little niche things that gay young queer people are into is just so on the spot. Becky sent me stickers, so that was really exciting. I don't have them right now. I'll put a little photo or something up here, but they're so cute and I love them, and just I love this book. This is definitely one that I would like on a rainy day just like sit and reread again. The characters were so fun. The love interest for the main character, I was like, tee, you know, like she was so cute. So highly recommend this book. The next book that I have in my 5-star list is The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School, and it's by Sonora Reyes, and that sounded so white, by Sonora Reyes. She's wonderful and brilliant, just absolutely amazing author. There was another book of hers that I rated as 5 stars, The Luis Ortega Survival Club, is another book of hers, and that one's pretty heavy. That one is a lot to digest, and there's definitely heavy tones in this book as well, but that was a lot for me personally. So I didn't want to put it in like a rom-com or like a romance category. It just didn't feel right. I would definitely address this as a young adult teen book, specifically like teen. Like if you are a young girl going to Catholic school and you're figuring out your sexuality, like, I so badly wish I had this when I was going to Catholic school. I went to a Christian preschool, and then K through 12 I went to a Catholic school, and then my freshman year and the first part of my sophomore year I went to an all-girls Catholic college prep high school. That was intense. And in high school and at the end of elementary school, for me elementary school is like 7th, 8th grade, because I went to a K through 12, so I always say at the end of elementary school, but I know that's like middle school. Anyways, during that time I was heavily questioning who I was and what I liked, and I think this book would have saved me. I think this book honestly would have opened up my fucking eyes. I also love the culture and everything that is intertwined in this, you know, talking about like she gets the girl and the cultural aspects of it. The main love interest, very much she's adopted, and so she very much wants to connect to that part of her as well, but her parents are very whitewashing with it, and they're very just stereotypical, and she's like, no guys, like, I appreciate the effort, but I actually just kind of know what the real thing is, you know. And I thought that was just beautifully written about. The writing and the story of going to a Catholic school, and especially a white dominated Catholic school, was so on point. It was just so accurate. I did not go to, well, I mean, like, my elementary middle school was pretty white dominated, but I would say my high school was not white dominated, and so I got a little bit mix of two. Going back through that experience, and oh my god, what if I had gone through that in high school? What if I went to a co-ed high school? Because she went to a co-ed high school, I didn't. You know, it's just so interesting to see and be a part of. Obviously, there's obvious racism, but there's these things that white people will say and do, and they just don't realize that it's racist. They don't realize, like, what they're saying is offensive. And just the way that was described and spoken about was just absolutely beautiful. Obviously, as a Caucasian woman, I'm not going to sit here and be like, approved. But it was so good, from what I've read and then what I've heard from, like, my other friends and their experiences. This book threw me for such a loop when it came to the parents, because I thought I knew how the story was going to end in terms of the parents, and I did not. It really, really did surprise me, and not a lot of books can do that nowadays, where there's like a plot point or something that I'm like, oh my god, I didn't see that, you know. And I'm not trying to be like I'm just the smartest person in the world, but I'm pretty good at like putting context clues together, and so this was something that definitely threw me off. And so I don't know, I had to mention that. I thought it was really cool. This definitely is about making your own and making your identity and who you are be your own and not being ashamed of that. And I absolutely love that. I love that a big theme of this book was forgiveness is not always the answer. We don't always have to forgive our bullies and you know, pretend like everything's okay with them just to move on with our lives. No, you don't have to do that. You could be like, those people are fucking bitches, but I'm not gonna let them live rent free in my head. Like, that's just not worth my time and worth my effort, and instead I'm just gonna move forward and just ignore them. And I think that is definitely something that we need to be teaching our youth, instead of, oh, always just forgive everyone, like, it's fine. No, it's not. There's some people in life that just, like, they're going through their own shit, fair. They need to figure that out and stay away from me, though. This story definitely highlights the struggles of being gay, and then also, you know, not only for colored women, but for colored men. And I'm not trying to sit here and be like, women have it easier. But if you're a man who is a part of the LGBTQ community, the peer pressure from others and just the fragility of boys' egos is a lot, and it was definitely highlighted and addressed and talked about. Anyone of any gender, of any race, whatever, I highly recommend just sitting down and reading this, because you're going to learn a lot about stuff that you're like, oh yeah, like I've like heard about that, but I've never really, you know, seen it detailed, and this details it. I love this book. I love the cover. I love her writing. It's just so like realistic of being a teenager. I just absolutely loved it. The next book I have is You Don't Have a Shot. This is written by Raquel Marie. I think the cover is super cute, it looks very like comic book like, and I love it. This was also a signed edition. I got this from the Barnes & Noble when we went to the Grove in LA, so that was really cool. I didn't know who this author was, what she was about. She signed it. It's so cool. I don't know, I love having signed copies of things. It's just really like, it's personal and stuff. So I would definitely categorize this book as like young adult teen. Like, this is definitely getting into like, oh yeah, that, you know, like a 14-year-old could read this. And not saying that I'm like, oh, it's so easy to read, but like in terms of understanding and relating, I think this is something that younger girls definitely would love to read. Soccer gays, if any of you guys are Yellow Jacket fans, if any of you guys follow the Women's World Cup, like this is a story for you. It's so good. It goes into like soccer like details. I only played soccer for like a couple months, so if I sound like a complete idiot, that's why. But it goes into the positions and everything like that. It's really cool to like have their characterizations be kind of based and surrounded on by their positions. If you read the book, you'll get more of what I'm talking about, but everything kind of goes hand in hand, and I thought that was so cool. I love the discussion of asexuality. We don't have that enough in current queer media. My most current thing that I can think of is Heartstopper. We have Isaac, you know, and that's fantastic, but having more of that kind of, oh, I already know that I'm ace, like I already know that that's who I am. I think that's just really cool. I just read a book recently and the main character was demisexual, so it just, I love all these other explorations of like what you feel and everything, not just being like, this is a lesbian and this is a bi and they fall in love. Like, what are the other things that they're dealing with? I feel like a lot of movies and things like that will put out these characterizations of ace characters, demi characters, and be like, oh, there's just, you know, extra labels, whatever. And these extra labels are actually things that are something that's very important to them and something that they have had to explore and go through. This book focuses a lot on the struggle of not being good enough for a parent because of their own failed dreams. And I think, again, this is something that you don't see in a lot of stories. A lot of these parents grew up and they're like, I have this goal for myself. I'm going to be the best soccer player. I'm going to be a college graduate. I'm going to be this, and that. And then when they don't get to do it and they have a child, they're like, great, my child can do that. And then if their child doesn't follow that plan, it's the end of the world for them. This was definitely talked about in the book. Don't want to get into spoilers, but I love how the main character kind of stands up to her father, and it's just like, I'm never going to be good enough for you. And I'm okay with that. Obviously, like, it doesn't feel wonderful and great, but there's nothing else I can do to make you happy. And that is such an important lesson for young kids who are in these emotionally abusive, I would say, relationships with their parents, being told they're not good enough, they need to be like someone else, they need to do this, and, you know, like, that's never healthy for a child to hear, especially one who's developing. It's okay to put your foot down and be like, I'm not listening to it, and that's okay. If you're not going to be happy with me all the time, that's fine. I also love that the two main love interests were both Hispanic characters. Not in the sense that it was like, oh yeah, they're both Hispanic characters and that's amazing. Yes, that is amazing. I love cultural representation. I think that's wonderful. But my main thing is a lot of these books you'll see two white characters, or you'll see a white character and then a person of color. Like almost every single one of these books, like I'm trying to think, all these books, either two white main girls or you have a white one and then a person of color. That can get just very repetitive sometimes, where it's just like, okay, I get the pattern, I get the story. Having two main characters who are both people of color, I think is very needed, and is not shown a lot in media, and when it is, I think it's just beautiful. We need more of those stories for sure. So that was absolutely a facet that I loved about this book. I love how it was this thing of like, I thought you hated me. No, I thought you hated me. No, I was just like in love with you. I love that that's like a main plot point of the book, because I think a lot of sapphic girls have gone through this, of where they think, oh no, like I this person hates me, and it's like in reality this person just has a crush on you. And it's hard. The next book I have is Count Your Lucky Stars by Alexandria Bellflower. This is the cover. Adore her, love her. This is my favorite Alexandria Bellflower book of all time. I love it. This is part of a 3-part series. So you have Written the Stars, Hang the Moon, and then Count Your Lucky Stars. All of them are queer stories. The second one is always debated as a queer story. It's a queer story. This one was so good. This one is so fun. Like, it's like, if I had to give a word, I know it's so basic, but so fun. I love the characters and everything about them, their styles, how they talk, their mannerisms, like just fell in love and fell into this world. And I love these characters that are part of this series. Like they're my little family, and I'm just like, I love them. This is definitely, I would say, again, an adult romance book. I think young adult, of course, could read this as well, but I think this is more like on the older end, and just talking about being in a position in your life where you're like older and you're trying to figure shit out, and you're like, honestly, I don't know. You're like, I decided to get married when I was like 20, and then I got divorced, and then I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with my life. I think this is just so great and such a real adult experience. Definitely warm and cozy vibes. Like I just want to like get a cabin up in Colorado or something and open this book and read it. Like it's such a like a nice, warm, cozy read. The trope that's highlighted in this book is like past best friends into lovers into enemies, who are then into friends into love. Like it's a whole thing. Like it's like a back and forth thing. And I think, oh, I'm so sorry, girl. I think that's one of the main reasons why I loved it so much, because it wasn't this like, oh, they hate each other and then they're friends and then they love each other. Like it was just this always back and forth thing, and not really knowing what you are to the other person. I don't know, I just find those stories so fascinating. I've been in a relationship like that, so I just can relate to it. It also really talks about emotionally draining relationships and discovering your sexuality while already being a part of a relationship. I know a lot of bi or pan women have gone through this, where they have ended up with a man and they love him and they want to be with him for the rest of their life, but they're just like, you know what, I think I like women too. Like, and I can't imagine how that experience must be. I mean, I guess I can a little bit, because I did date guys when I was in high school, but it was more kind of like I knew, but I was just like trying to push that down. So it was a whole other thing. But yeah, I think it's cool to talk about that, and I think it's so like looked down upon, you know, when women realize something about themselves when they're in a marriage already, and that it shouldn't be. It should be a thing of like, oh my god, that's fantastic, you learned this about yourself, that's great, how can I support you during this time? I think that should be the response. And then talking about an emotionally draining relationship, not abusive, but draining, of one where you feel like this happens a lot with female and male relationships, where the women will always end up feeling like the mother and taking care of things. One of our main characters definitely took on that role of being the mom, and I completely understand why she called it quits, and she was like, you know what, fuck this, can't do this anymore. It wasn't even because he was a mean guy or a bad guy or whatever. He was not emotionally mature enough for her. Also, the two main characters are both sapphic characters. One of them I think is pan, and then the other, her label is never defined. She knows she likes women, she knows she likes men, she knows she likes non-women and non-men, like, you know, like she likes a little bit of everything. But she doesn't label herself. She's not like, this is how I am and this is who I'm supposed to be. You know, it's just like, I'm whatever. And I think that's something that should be more accepted as well, instead of putting people into boxes and being like, oh, so you're bi, oh, so you're pan. Like, maybe they're just figuring shit out. Alexandria's writing, I love her writing so much. I'm so excited for her next story to come out. It's with a male and female character, but they're both bi. I'm very like sapphic heavy. Like, if it has a man involved in it this is gonna sound awful because like most of my audience is men, and I know that, but if it has a man involved in it, I'm not too interested normally.
Why would a man be there? Why would a man be there? No, it's actually pissing me off.
I read another book called Cool for the Summer by Dahlia Adler, which maybe I'll talk about someday, and one of the love interests was a man, and that kind of ruined it for me. It didn't ruin it for me, but it kind of like dimmed it down, I guess. I was just like, I'm not interested in you. But that's of course my personal thing, and I'm still excited to read the book that's coming out. The next book I have is written by an author that I think not a lot of people know about, and her writing is so good. It's so good. Like, I need to read more books of hers. I don't know why I haven't, but this is called In the Long Run by Haley Cass. And as you can tell by the cover, it's not something that I would go for necessarily. Like, this is not a book that I would pick up and be like, yes, I'm gonna love this. You know what I'm saying? This was just like a synopsis that I read on Goodreads, and everyone was like, yeah, this is really good. You should read this. And I think I saw like a quote or something from Twitter. I was like, oh God, I gotta read this. Favorite romance book of all time. Like The Last Telegraph Club, Last Night in the Telegraph, can I say the fucking name? Last Night in the Telegraph Club, She Gets the Girl, Imogen obviously, and One Last Stop are also very high contenders, but this is forever going to be my favorite book. It's such a personal attachment for me. Like, this is Taylor Swift in a book. This is such a, like, you can't talk bad about this book. Like, anything else, we could talk about it, critique it. This book is off limits. We can't talk about it because it's just so, it's my favorite. It's my absolute favorite. I would definitely categorize this as adult romance. It deals with two very older women. They're dying, no, but they're older women for sure. They're not like, mid-20s or anything like that. Like, I think they're well into their 30s at this point. If you've listened to Taylor Swift ever in your entire life, I bet you have heard of the song "'Tis the Damn Season." Evermore is one of my favorite albums of all time, and "'Tis the Damn Season" is one of my favorite songs of all time. This book is the personification of "'Tis the Damn Season." Like, it's just like, I can't explain it. You just have to read it. It has the childhood friends trope, like, dynamic of character A being very breezy and go with the flow kind of thing, and character B being very uptight and rigid. And I love those dynamics so much. Like, I'm so obsessed with those. The characterizations and them being, kids and having all these flashbacks of, like, this is when they knew each other in elementary school. This is when they knew each other when they were in high school. And then from here and there and there. It's just, like, absolutely brilliant. And it was just such a well-flushed book. Like, I would love... Y'all already know. I'm in the RTF program right now, which is radio, television, film. And ultimate goal is to one day direct a sapphic film. Full stop. If I ever got the chance and I could adapt something. This fucking book. Like, it's just so... I can't describe it. It's my baby. Like, it's so good. If you've ever been a sapphic woman, you'll understand. It mentions having a weird relationship with your family, especially like with your sisters, and that hit a little too close to home. So it's always like a personal attack reading it. And if you want two characters with tension, like, I know we have like Cachadora and we have Kate B, I guess, like, for tension and stuff. This is Tension City. Like, this is just like always just like, so are y'all gonna now, or like, like, it's so right. Jinx, my cat agrees. Look at the like the annotations. Do you think I could hate a book like this? I don't. This next book, I'm sure every sapphic and their mother has heard of it. It's a very popular book in the sapphic book community, even in just the book community. I've had a lot of, friends who are not a part of the community who have been like, I've read this book and I absolutely adore it. If you have seen Red, White, and Royal Blue on Amazon Prime, this is by that same author who wrote that book. It's so good. It's so good. Like, in the long run, favorite book of all time, One Last Stop, is very close. Very, very close. It's a long read for sure, but it's so good. So yeah, this is One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. Again, do you think I could hate a book like this? I also tried to match the color scheme with my tabbies, so this is something that I'm very very proud of. I kept hearing stuff about this book, and it was literally like a Target midnight run, and Alexis was like, oh, you should just like thumb through it and see if you like it. And so I was thumbing through it, and I was like, girl, I'm gonna like this. This is adult. The main characters, I think, are around like mid-20s to late 30s, mid-20s to late 30s, mid-20s to late 20s, but it's definitely like adult content. So like, if you've seen Red, White, and Royal Blue, then you know. It makes me wish I had a New York City experience. Like, before reading this and before getting hyperfixated on Spider-Man, I had no interest for NYC. I really didn't. Like, I didn't get the hype. I was like, I don't really want to. Now I do. I really just want to go and be like a person who just, I want to go and be a person. I want to go and I want to breathe and I want to be there. I really just want to like be a part of that culture, and I think it would be so much fun. And this book really like highlighted the really cool and quirky parts of it. It also like gives light to the college experience and not the usual college experience, because our main character bounces around from different colleges, and I love that it's like there's not a linear line for her finishing college. Like, it's just at her own pace and what she wants to do. Hi, I'm in the boat right now. I'm driving the boat. We're going over the riptides. The music selection also, so in the book the two main love characters send like songs to each other through the radio, because one of them is stuck on a subway. Spoilers! And the songs, I looked them up when they were mentioned. So many are on my Spotify playlist now. It's so good. I also said Representation City, because this literally highlighted every kind of body type, every kind of gender, every kind of race, ethnicity, every kind of, just like anything, you name it. Like, we got the twinks, like we have everything. We have the drag queens, they're all there, and I loved it. It just made me really happy. Like, that feels more comfortable to me than being like, oh, we're all in Portland and we're all white and we're gay. Like, okay, yeah, like I get that, I understand that, but I want more diversity when it comes to that for sure. You learn also, this is very reminiscent of like Why do I keep changing the fucking title? Last Night in the Telegraph Club, because one of our main leads is also an Asian American woman, and she had to deal with being gay and being out in the 70s. So that was a whole other experience, and it really highlighted like, oh yeah, like she's part of the LGBT community, so you would think like she's loved and accepted by her member. No, it's still a whole race issue. This is a huge problem in the LGBT community, where it's like, we're so accepting and we're so inclusive and this and that, but are we really? Like, are we really? How you could be an outcast in your own group. And it was just beautifully talked about, and it was sad, but Jane, I think is her name. I love her. I'm in love with her. I need her in my categories of like her, Hazel from Bottoms, and Vi from Arcane. Like, I need them. I had like two problems with this book. One was that the main love interest, so this is only a one, so some of these books go back and forth between the two characters and talk about their experiences. This is one of those that is like, oh no, it's just one character. And the sapphic love interest for this character, I think August is the main girl's name. So August's love interest, Jane, is a person of color, and that's totally fine. I have no fucking problem with that. What my problem is that she's masked, and again, no problem with that. It's not a bad thing, but I feel like it's such a repeated, I don't know, stereotype in shows, in books and stuff, to make the person of color be masked or be more masculine. And it's like, you know, let people of color also be feminine. Let them be other things as well, instead of this one thing that we're constantly writing. As much as we need this representation, we need more diverse representation and more of those like sub stories told. And then another thing I had an issue with was pacing. Sometimes it felt like way too fast, and sometimes it felt way too slow. So that could have been balanced out a little bit more. Again, this is about like 500 pages, so it's hard to master pacing with a book like that. Those were like my only two cons of the book. Other than that, fucking love that book. I will go back and reread that every other day. It's such a queer staple, and I really hope it gets an adaptation like Red, White, and Royal Blue did, because it would just that would be on repeat. Like Bottoms, Crush, and that. Like be a constant repeat for me. Those were my 5-star rated sapphic romance kind of books. If you are interested in any of them, highly recommend reading one of them and seeing for yourself what you think, you know. These books have such a special place in my heart. I wish I had these stories when I was younger in high school, because I only had primarily straight stories at that time, and so I'd have to just kind of imagine different things. So I'm so glad that kids and youth and teens have these books now where they can read them, and the fact that we're banning some of these books is absolutely insane and criminal. I just think it's so stupid. Why wouldn't you want to learn about stuff that you don't know about? Like that's the whole point of learning. Anyways, not getting into that fucking topic, because I could be there all day on that. But thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this. This is kind of a different video than I normally do. This has nothing to do with like animation or anything, but it's gay, so you know, there you go. I know that most of my audience likes Ruby and likes anime and stuff of that nature, but if you could give this video a chance too, if you watched it all this way through, you're a real one. I love you. Thank you. I really appreciate that, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I want to do more like book video kind of things, because I love reading and I love talking about stories, and I love talking about sapphics and everything about that. Okay, I'm George Washington right now. So George Washington. I'm George Washington. I'm George Washington right now. So I'm gonna fix this real quick. Hold on. Okay, don't look at my hair right now because it's not great. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below if you have read any of these books, if you might be interested in reading any of these books, or just anything about your life right now. I'm interested. I love hearing about it. It's fun. Believe it or not, I read every single comment that comes in. I enjoy and love all the support and other things that people have to say. You know, don't be too mean. We have a Patreon. I'll probably plug that somewhere in this video, but Patreon will see this first, and then YouTube. I'm really trying to get a schedule down that's better. Literally had like a sit-down meeting with Alexis the other day, because I really want to get the schedule just down and packed. So hopefully it will be Patreon on Wednesdays and YouTube on Tuesdays, and we're gonna alternate off editing and all that stuff, so it's a good work schedule. I really enjoy doing what I do. I want to get more reaction videos out, because I know that's what most of my audience is here for. With the way my phone works right now, that's not possible. So bear with me, but I am trying to find a solution for that. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. All of our socials will be linked down below. Anyways, be gay, do crimes, and I'll see y'all a little bit later. Bye. Definitely read these books because they're so much fun and gay and queer, and they're great. And if you have any recommendations for me, let me know, please, because I need them, even though I don't need any more books. Thanks. Bye.